Welcome to the Wealth Genius Podcast. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Strategies for multifamily real estate investing, mindset, community, success. The Wealth Genius Podcast with your host, the godfather of real estate, Alfonso Cuadra, who has expansive experience in business and massive success as a real estate investor. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Let's dive into today's episode.
We are here with my friend Carina. What's happening?
What's going on, Alfonso?
Thanks for coming on the show. When I thought about having a podcast, you were the first person I thought about.
Amazing. That makes me so happy.
We've shared this many times. You know, we've known each other in the industry. And one day, I think I saw your post or something. I can't remember what it was. And so then I went to your Facebook page, and then I was like, oh, that's interesting. I knew you were Latina, but I didn't know like from where. But I did discover that you were from El Salvador. You were a Libra, and you're in real estate. And I'm like, why don't I know this person more? You know. And I think I wrote you like something like, hey, why don't we know each other more? You know. And came into my office, and we connected, and then ultimately it led to us being partners in the land development track within Wealth Genius. And you know, I don't know, it's kind of like, it feels like I know you forever, but it's only been like 3 years or 2 years
something like that. Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember following you too. Like I follow you, I see you, I kind of knew you, but you know, we never really met. So when you sent me that message, I was like, yeah, how come we don't know each other?
Exactly. It was really bizarre to me. You know, I want our audience and, you know, everyone that's watching here, I know that some people know you, right? But some people don't know the land development queen.
Yes.
Right? And so I want to know kind of where your business is at today. What do you do? What do you spend the majority of your time doing?
Awesome. Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you. Like, I feel so happy to be here with you today. So thank you for bringing me on. And yeah, my journey, you know, I've kind of mentioned it. We've had many conversations together, and it's evolving. You know, it still is. Where we started off with the land development. Actually, let me even go back before that. We were doing just buy and hold. You know, I started in 23.
What kind of properties?
So when I was 23, I bought my first property. It was townhomes. So townhouse, I rented it out. I lived in it, and I rented it out as well.
So you converted the basement into like a unit?
Yep. Rooms, I rented rooms. And back then they were like, who's going to rent a room? I'm like, I don't know. But a lot of women did. And then I saw the purpose, you know, like it's a great way to just manage people, how to deal with emotional, how to collect the rents, all of those things you just learn, right? I was 23 years old, and it was the best time because, I mean, I had no commitments really, and that's for me, it's like the best time to do it when you're young, when you're willing to make sacrifices, no privacy, you know, bunch of people living there, you know.
You don't know what can go wrong.
You don't know, you could like super oblivious, right, to things. Something like, I find being oblivious, you know, just not knowing everything, sometimes it's good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just makes you take the step, and not feeling like I need to know everything is really what my entire career has been like that. It's just going for it, whether or not I know absolutely everything. And I've grown so much in everything just by doing that.
Sometimes I feel when you know too much, then that could hinder you. And you know, sometimes you just need to discover. There's a certain level of knowledge that you need to have, but you know, you don't need to know every single step. You just got to take a step.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And you're absolutely right. You can be the complete opposite, like analysis paralysis. And you can be the complete opposite to not know anything, right? So you want to kind of be in that middle space where you just know enough to say, yeah, you know what, I'm willing to take that step, or that intuition that makes you feel like this feels right. Mm-hmm. I need to go this way. And that's been my entire career. Everything that I've done, it's been 100% that. So that's how I started with that whole, I didn't even call it buy and hold. I was like, I'm buying a townhouse.
And so, like, how did that transition into land development?
It's the crazy ride because I did that for a while. So buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. And I loved it. But at some point, like we all do, we realized I need to go to the next step. Like there's got to be something more. And I went to a lot of education platforms similar to Wealth Genius. Wish Wealth Genius was there back then, but it wasn't existing back then. And
it was just a thought.
Yeah, just a thought, right? I learned about all the different types of strategies. And I've always been like, I don't know what it is with me. I've always been in that mindset where I see everybody doing the same thing and I watch. I'm a people watcher. I love people watching and I watch what is going on. And if I see everybody going that way, I go the opposite way. I'm like, what can I do completely the opposite? And that's literally how it happened. It was just, I kept learning about different strategies, but they were all the same strategies, right, in real estate, which is the typical ones. And
the
then
flipping, the, you know,
SU conversion, buy and hold, you know, the Burr strategy. And I was like, okay, cool. But everybody and their grandmother was going for the same bungalow, you know, to make an SDU. And I was like, now people are overbidding and all this stuff. And at one of the conferences, I met a girl and she said to me, I build semis with my husband. And I was like, I never heard anybody say that before. I didn't know any builders back then, nothing. And then I just asked her, like, how do you know? Like, where do you do these? She's like, you read the zoning. And I was like, what's that? What's zoning? And I was literally this big. I had a big belly because I was giving birth to my son in like a month. And anyway, so she ended up living so close to me. I spent the first 3 months with my baby and her, she's teaching me everything that she knew about like zoning. And she had her real estate license, so she would pull up listings and then we would go over it and we would walk through the properties together, like with my baby. Just brought him along everywhere. She's really what kickstarted absolutely everything in my whole entire journey. So when I talk about giving back, when I talk about giving people a little bit of seed, that's what she did for me, you know? So you know how we always come across somebody in our lives who does one little thing and it can completely change the trajectory of your life. That's what she did for me. So I'm really big on that even now, right? Because I know the impact that it can have for people. Yeah. And that changed my whole life, literally. I talk to her now and we laugh about it because she's still a friend of mine. We still talk and she's like, I gave you one little thing and you just went off and you took it this way, you know? And I was like, once I'm obsessed, I become obsessed.
So what was the first deal?
The first deal, so it's so funny because we had just bought our second house, and we had put all of our money to buy that second house. And then, of course, I started learning about all this stuff. And I had read an article where the city said the city is supportive of intensification around transit. And I said, that's it. Like, we just have to do that, focus around transit. And because I was with Jessica and we were looking at listings and we were going over, she called me up and she said, I found one. It's right around transit. It's right here. We got to go see it today. It was an estate sale. And I was like, let's go. And I brought my son with me.
And this was an existing house that you had to tear down?
Yeah.
Or a lot?
Well, I mean, it had a bungalow, an old one, mind you, but it was still livable. And it was a double lot, like really nice size lot with the highest zoning in the residential zone that you could already have within like walking distance to the transit. So I got back home and I was like, that's it. We got to buy this one. And my husband's like, how? Like, we just put all our money on this house. And I'm like, I don't know how. I don't know. But you know, like that feeling, like, I cannot let this go. It's meant for me. Like, this opportunity is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And we just figured it out. I literally put an offer in and I didn't even have the money. You know, when you put an offer and they accept that offer, you have to put a deposit.
Yeah.
I had to take out, I think it was like $1,500 for my visa. Like, I literally cashed out $1,500 for my visa. That's how like I had no money,
But at least you controlled that deal.
I had it. Yeah.
Had it under contract.
Had it under contract. Still didn't know what I was doing, but I found a tenant. That's the beauty about real estate, right? I mean, the house was perfect. The guy loved it because it has a huge backyard, and he loved to work on his cars and things like that. He turned out to be an amazing tenant. He actually moved from one property to another with us. It was just funny because he knew what we did. He knew that we were developing them. He knew that we were buying them for a purpose. And he's like, oh, I'll just go to your next one. And he ended up, for a few years, he just followed us through our developments. And it was a great starter project. We ended up putting the team together. And mind you, I had my baby. So, I was doing this on the side. When he was sleeping, calling people, meeting people, going to the city, all the things that you have to do, right, to move the project forward. And we ended up doing the 12-unit apartment building there. But the kicker was that I used this to talk to everybody about it. Like I went to all.
So you used the first deal it's like a showcase. It's like, this is what we can do.
Yeah, I was so excited, and not even intentionally. It was just purely from obsession. And being excited about a deal. When you wake up,
you want to share it with everyone.
Yeah,
this is crazy.
And when you're so excited about something, you literally wake up with energy, right? You're just so excited. That's how I woke up. And I was just it was like free flow. It was I just felt like I was in the zone, and I just wanted to talk to everybody about it. And it was great because people would be like, you should talk to that person. You should talk to that person. Oh, that person over this, maybe there. And it was just an amazing time. It was I felt like I reinvented myself.
How long did it take from the first deal to the second deal?
Not long, because what ended up happening, funny enough, because I was telling everybody about my deal, there was one guy that I had mentioned, and he goes, well, I'm a builder. And I told him about the project and what we were getting approved for and all that. He goes, okay, cool. And then the next time I saw him, he kept asking me, how is that going? And how is that going? Eventually, he was like, well, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to build it? And I'm like, I'm not sure. Because building at the time felt like a big deal, right? That's how much I didn't even think about it. It was just I was so in the flow. And then one day he came up to me, he goes, well, I'll buy it from you and I'll build it. And it was the first time I realized you would just buy the plants. So I ended up flipping it. So that's where my flipping the paper came from. And it was ding, ding, ding. I was I could just do this over and over and over again. What if I could repeat? Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. We did that within 6 months, sold it, right, after getting the approval. So we didn't build that.
Yeah, and which for a lot of people, they have this belief that, why would a contractor or a builder buy plans from you when they can do it on their own? And you know what they don't think about is the value of time.
Exactly.
And someone that focuses. If you had to hire someone, you'd have to pay someone a salary until they find a project.
Exactly.
I've just bought a land, right? I just bought a land for 1.5 million that I can build 52 units.
Right.
The seller of that land bought it for 300-something thousand. What? Right?
Right.
And so I don't care how much money he's making. I care about how much I'm gonna make. Exactly. Right? Because he had to go through the bio study, he had to do the sound study, he had to do the phase 1 environmental, he had to do the rezoning. I didn't want to do that. I want instant results, right? And it makes a lot of sense. A builder, contractor, or someone that's going to take on this project, they're not focused on what you're focused on, which is looking at deals, developing deals. They just want to have something that's shovel ready.
Ready built, ready to go. I love how you said that, because there's usually a couple ways people do it. You're going to hire a development manager, right? A lot of these larger companies do that. They'll have it in-house, development managers who will do that. They'll acquire the property, but they hire them, right, on a salary basis to do all the permitting, all the work that needs to be done. The builder themselves are not doing that. They hire that person to do that work for them. So you could either retain the talent internally and have it as part of your business, or you just get together with somebody like this who is shovel ready and is like, okay, I'm willing to do that. And they want to do that because their whole business model is building.
Yeah.
That is their niche. That is their job. So especially if you have a big crew, you have people on staff, you want to have a steady flow of projects so that you can keep your business running and you can keep it going. That is their whole business model.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. At what point did you realize, like, wait a minute, I got something here. Like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Well, I was like a lot of people, which you and I know, I was unhappy in my day job already. So, I mean, I was already excited just to be doing something else, let alone being like, but I was very intentional. When I had my son, I had told my husband, I said, I want to do something in real estate. I don't know what, but I'm going to make it into a business. And I was very intentional about that. And I told him, I'm not coming back to this job. I'm going to do whatever it takes. That's why I took my baby 1 month, 2 months. He was coming around with me everywhere because I had no time to waste. So I was like, I'm going to go and do it. And
do you have
figure
any
it out.
experience in business before? Have you run a business before? Have you
No.
sold anything before?
Nothing.
Wow.
I wish I was like that kid, you know, with like that's used to have a lemonade stand and had like all these little, you know, business ideas. I was not that kid. My family, immigrants from El Salvador, you know, very much about school.
Yeah.
Very much about get an education, get a government job, pension and benefits, and you're set. That whole steady employment was very important. And my parents, as long as I had that, they were happy.
So you had that.
I had that.
Congratulations. But you're like, no, I don't want that. I'm going to be in real estate, and I'm going to turn it into a business.
Yes. You know, that's what I wanted. I didn't know how, like, at all. And I didn't even have a business coach, which now in hindsight, thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even look for that. Like, why wasn't I there, you know? But I think at least for me, I was blessed to find something that made me feel alive again, made me feel like I can figure this out. My excitement for it was like, I'm not taking no for an answer. To that extent, literally obsessed. When I tell people I was obsessed, I was obsessed. It was ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
So I was blessed to be in that zone, that like that obsession zone. It just makes you do things you would never even think to do it.
So do you remember the moment where you're like, whoa, like, this is it? Like, I'm doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. When I flipped the paper the first time.
The first time. Was it when you had the check? Was it when you're like getting the offer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I got the offer.
So can I ask you how much you made that deal?
I was just going to tell you. We made $250,000.
$250K. Did you get a check?
We got that closing, right?
You closing
get the money
from the lawyer?
Yeah.
You got a check, right?
Yeah.
And you're looking at that check. And is that the biggest amount of money you've ever made up to that point?
Absolutely.
And what are you feeling? What are you feeling?
Well, one, I wanted to celebrate. I was like,
What did you
let's
do?
go party.
What did you do? What did you do? What did you do?
We went partying with some friends.
Yeah, yeah.
But not really telling anybody.
So you just kept that to yourself, but you just went to celebrate.
We went to
no
celebrate.
No one knew what you were celebrating before. You're
no.
Like,
Because I didn't even know how to say to people, you know, like that.
I know exactly what you mean. It's hard to, when people are not in real estate, you know, and you make 150, 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, whatever it is, it doesn't seem believable to people. And if they don't understand real estate, it sounds like you're maybe bragging, or, you know what I mean? You know, people are just used to like making 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
What do you mean you just made double someone's income in one deal?
Exactly.
Right? But what were you feeling?
Like, the money was exciting, but it was more like the confirmation that's like, it worked. I can tweak things. I know what to do now a little bit more, and I can make this into a business. That for me was like the kicker. That's when I was like super excited.
I love that so much. Because a lot of people that are watching this, and a lot of people that watch my YouTube channel, they're curious. Maybe they heard my name somewhere or whatever, and then all of a sudden they find themselves like, learning about real estate, but not really believing it can work.
Right.
It's easy to say, oh, it can work for that person, it can work for that person, it can work for that person. And like, I want to be that inspiration for people. My upbringing, where I came from, my circumstances, even though I went through all of that, this is where I am, right? So I want to go back to where you came from, because I think we have a very similar story, and this is kind of how our paths aligned in a way. But I want you to share that story, like, kind of like coming to Canada, your parents, and some of the struggles and all of that.
Yeah, that's definitely, I have so much respect, just like you, with your mom and your family. And I mean, my parents were 31, 32 years old, coming to Canada with 4 girls.
Wow.
4 girls, leaving everything, not having, when we talk about immigrants, a lot of the immigrants have family here. So it's kind of like, oh, it makes sense to come here, and you have support and you have people waiting for you when you come here. But our parents didn't have that.
No, I mean, I didn't even have a cousin. I didn't grow up
Nothing.
with you had sisters, right? I didn't have other siblings, so it was just like us.
Just you, yeah. I had my sisters, luckily. You're right, but we had nobody here, and my parents left everything, right? Especially at a time when it was civil war. It was a very scary time for a lot of people, and it was all this talk about, do not believe that they're going to bring you to Canada. People thought they're going to send us to concentration camps.
Yeah.
Like, I remember my dad later on telling us the story, and he was like, all his friends, because he was well connected, he worked at the university, he was an accountant. He taught also accounting at the university. He worked for the government. So he had a lot of people in the government, well-educated people, telling him, do not believe that they're going to take you to Canada. And it was this fear, right? So it's like him taking that chance. And my mom says this all the time. She says, had it not been for your dad and him convincing me, because she's like, I would have never done it. I would have never came to Canada. She was too fearful, but she only...
Too cold.
Too cold, and she would have never done it. She said, we always give my dad that like respect, because he took that chance to come here when everybody else was telling him not to.
Wow.
That's hard to do.
And how old were you?
I was 8.
8 years old. So very much like me, right? So I was 9 years old. You still have a solid memory of what the world you came from used to look like.
Oh my gosh, yes.
But coming into a whole new world, you don't speak the language, people making fun of you in school,
So much,
things like that. So how was that transition for you?
It was rough. I mean, I was 8. We didn't know the language. I hated the cold. I still do. But we had each other. Me and my sister, we were together we literally held hands like all day, because we were like afraid. People making fun of you, throwing stuff at you, like just crazy. I remember coming to Canada and saying hi. Like, I was like, hi. And people would look at you like, why are you talking to me? And I went home to my mom and I was like, people are so cold here. Like, it's physically cold, but also like cold. People are cold. And we just didn't understand that, because back home, if you remember, like, everybody's door's open. Yeah. You talk to everybody, even strangers. You walk down the street, you acknowledge that person's there, and you say, buenas tardes, good afternoon. Everywhere you go, that's how it is. And then you come to here, and it was like nobody looks at you, nobody talks to you. So as a child, even 8 years old, I felt it. I was like, this is so cold here.
What are some of the stories or challenges or things that you were impacted by when you were a kid that you're like, thank God I went through that, because now it's helped me in my real estate, it's helped me in my land development, it's helped me in my life?
Oh my gosh, that is such a good question. One of the things growing up, honestly, Alfonso, I don't even know why I believe this. For some reason, I actually believed I was not smart. And I think it comes a little bit with like having older siblings, having a twin that was a lot smarter than I was. She always had better grades. I hated school. She liked school. Like there was such a I literally had a comp. Like I had a comp. You know how we talk about real estate, a comp? I had a comp that lived next to me, you know? Like she was like the complete opposite. She was like the good twin. I was always the bad twin. So I grew up with this feeling like I'm just not smart. I actually believed in my brain that I was not intelligent. And when I thought about being a business owner, like I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to have my own business. Inside of me, I kept hearing the voice, you're not smart enough, you're not smart enough, you're not smart enough. Evolving through the business world, having multiple businesses now, and growing and doing much larger projects, I realized it took me so long to get this, that it's not that I'm not smart, is that what I was learning at school just didn't interest me, and I'm smart in a different way.
You weren't inspired.
I was not inspired. So now people say, oh my gosh, you're so smart, which makes me laugh inside because I'm like, I'm just smarter in a different way. Mm-hmm. So realizing that, I wish I would have realized earlier that I'm smarter just differently. And now what has happened is I've realized so much that all I need to do is surround myself with a team, people who are way smarter than I am. And I say this all the time, it's literally by design. I'm surrounded by people who are really intelligent, who have certification to their name, they're high level performers, and they're the ones that carry our entire business, everything that we do. We're like a family. Yeah. So that has evolved so much, being as a child, feeling like you're not smart enough, to realizing I don't have to know everything. I just have to know the right people.
Yeah. Well, I think that's genius. That is wealth genius.
Totally.
I love that. So you built, now you have this team and you're coaching. You're, obviously in Wealth Genius, we have a land development track, which I always think it's important. And kind of the mindset behind Wealth Genius was there's so many other programs out there. What are we going to do that's different? What are we going to offer that's different? And I like these advanced strategies that people could participate in, and most people didn't even think that they can get into land development, right? That's like something for the big people.
Big guys.
Yeah, you say big guys, big people, whatever. But I'm looking at right now outside the window. There's a crane, and there's this building being built right in front of the office here. But you never think that that's possible, until you do it, and then oh my God, it is possible. So, what do you say to people that are watching this, that are thinking, oh, she's lucky, she built this business? Like, what do you say to that?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like adding on top of that being a woman, right? Like when I first started, I only dealt with men. Like the land development space, it's been very men driven. Yeah. For
why
it's
is
one
it?
of those spaces. I think it's so tied to construction, right? And it just makes sense. Like it's construction's men mostly, still today, right? It's just really taking the steps, to get there. You don't have to be big. I mean, I wasn't, and you just take small steps towards that. I still feel fear, right? We still feel fear because we're taking on large projects. The amounts of money is so much bigger than before. And you still feel this like, whew, it's crazy, right? But it's just like feeling like, you know what, just one step at a time. Everybody started somewhere. Everybody, even the big guys, they all started somewhere. So I'm always like, I kind of internally say to myself, we all pee. And we all pee.
Some standing up and some sitting down.
Exactly, but we're all the same.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It makes sense. I love that. It can be intimidating. This is why we have the education component to it, which I love. I love that we can teach people some of these advanced strategies, and maybe that's where they start, right? And then just follow what they're passionate about. So if someone's trying to get into real estate, period, what would be some of the tips? Give me like 3 tangible tips from your perspective that someone needs to do if they want to get started. Maybe they don't even know if they want to be in land development, multifamily, investing in the U.S., all these things. What are 3 tips that you can offer?
Yeah. One thing that worked for me a lot was really learning about the various different strategies. You know, like I was saying, right? I went to all of this. I learned about everything. And that was all new to me at the time. Learning about the different strategies, what's going on in the area, like what are people doing. Just learning all of that, I realized a lot about myself. Like there's some strategies that might not excite you. And there were some that didn't excite me at all. And I was like, that's cool, but I can't see myself doing that, you know? So just like learning about it is, I think, number one. I
love that. You got to know what you don't like to find out what you like.
Exactly. And that's the only way I found out, like, what excited me. I was like, once I figured that out, I'm like, oh my God, I could see myself doing that. I was like, that's cool. It's like visionary. It's like taking something from scratch and just like designing something brand new. That for me excited me. So I was like, I love that idea. So that's number one. One thing that I wish I would have done sooner is getting a coach or a mentor. I have 2 mentors now. 3 if I count you, because you've mentored me quite a bit. Like in this entire journey, like you've been a big component of my growth. But now I really focus on my mentors, and I think they're like key to my entire business. Absolutely, 100%. But I didn't do that sooner. I didn't realize the value of it, or I just didn't even think about it.
Yeah, people underestimate the value of tapping into someone else's experience.
Yes.
Right? People are trying to do everything on their own, not realizing that they can compress time by tapping into someone else's experience.
Yeah, it just expedites everything. You know, like you're a coach, I'm a coach too, and you know, we have our students come to us and ask a question, and I know it, I can answer it, and they're like, oh my God, how do you know all this? How do you know all this information? I'm like, because I've done all of it.
Yes.
And I know when I go to my coach, my mentors too, and I ask them a question that I don't know, and they give me the answer, I'm like, good, I can run off and do it. It's just so much quicker. It expedites everything. So I wish I would have done that sooner, for sure. So that's number 2. And then number 3 is really surrounding yourself with the right people.
I love that so much.
Yes, because I did it, Alfonso, like when I first, that story I told you from the first little bungalow next to the LRT, we went off and did so many of those. We were like, I became transit-oriented developer just because of that, because I saw it as like I could replicate this over and over and over again, and we were doing that, and I loved it. But again, I was like a lone wolf. I was like, it's just me in my own little bubble and all that. And I was lucky that I had enough drive to do that, because I remember I was obsessed, literally obsessed. So I had that. So I went on way longer on my own than I think a lot of people could, unless you have that drive, unless you have that like obsession. But eventually that kind of wore off a little bit, because then I was like, oh, I am a lone wolf. You realize that you outgrow your friends, you outgrow business partners, you outgrow even sometimes family or people that surround you. You outgrow all of that, and you can just keep going on, like saying, it's fine because this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm focusing on, so I accepted it, which is cool and all. But eventually you feel like this feeling like there's nobody to share it with. There's nobody besides my husband, but I mean like share in the sense like grow it with.
And you don't have anybody to share, hey, I just made $250K.
Yes.
Right? And they understand because they also made $200,000.
And we celebrate together.
And everyone can uplift one another.
Exactly.
Right? I'm big on community, but the right community.
Yes.
People that are like-minded, that are going to challenge you and support you, people that are going to help you level up, people that are gonna keep you inspired, right? So I believe in surrounding myself around people that are gonna inspire me consistently, right? And I want to be inspired by the people around me. I love it.
Yes,
I love it. One last thing. What's a quote that has inspired you?
So I don't know if this is a quote or not, but I guess it's more of a phrase. We've all heard it. You know that saying when they say, do what you love and you never work a day in your life? I feel like that is so true. Everything I spoke right now this whole time is about obsession. It's about like being in the flow, following your intuition and just letting that guide you and learning through it. I feel like that's been all of me, like everything that I do. Even now, I mean, we're getting into other ventures in our business that we're creating. And I don't know every single thing, but I know that I'm going the right way. I know that I'm obsessed. Like when I find something that I become so excited about, I literally become obsessed by it. I don't know if that's my personality or what's going on, but I'm like that. And I could do it forever. Like sometimes it's 11 o'clock at night and I'm like, oh my gosh, I really should wrap it up now. You know?
Yeah, well, people, and I'm sure you get the same question. People ask me, what's the secret? Fun.
Exactly.
Have fun.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're having fun, like time, it doesn't stop.
No.
Right?
And especially when you're surrounded with the people that you love. So surround people that have the same vision as you, that think outside the box, that give you crazy, stupid ideas. But I'm like, I love it just because you're thinking so outside the box and you're in that flow. So we're having fun. Like our whole team, we enjoy being around each other. And I think you guys, built the same.
Yeah. On that note, we have events all over the country, right? Who knows when this is coming out, but you're going to be able to find you and you'll be able to find me, wealthgenius.ai, and we have events, land development boot camps, the Real Estate Wealth Expo, multiple different events. So when people come to a land development boot camp, the ones that we're organizing, what can they expect?
Oh gosh, we go through almost like a lot of insights. So we do go through about analyzing properties, the hidden gems. I talk a lot about hidden gems, finding the deals, sourcing them, capitalizing them, creating it into a business. I really love to teach how to create it as a business, because a lot of people I find are wanting to get into real estate, one thing, but also wanted to quit their job, because a lot of us are in that time where I hate my job. I don't like what I do. I was there. I know what it's like to be there. And I made it into a business. So I know a lot of people need that help. So I do focus on that as well. And then you hear me talking about a lot about the business aspect of it. So we talk all about that. And of course, the network, right? It's all about the network and people getting together with like-minded individuals and having fun. That's what it's about.
Woo! Fun with Carina Guzman, land development queen. Muchas gracias. Thank you for coming by. I loved it. I know that a lot of people are going to get a lot of value here, and we will see you all at the top.
Thanks for listening to the Wealth Genius Podcast. If you have a question or comment about something you heard today, reach out to the Godfather via social media or email him anytime. All that information is in the show notes. And of course, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Wealth Genius Podcast. The Wealth Genius Podcast. Until next time, see you at the top.